Mandalore was a major site of conflict in the Clone Wars. After years of holding onto its neutrality by a thread, it was eventually thrown into the war when Maul took power, causing a civil conflict between the Mandalorians, which the Republic was forced to enter itself. But how exactly do you invade Mandalore? A world that created some of the finest warriors the galaxy has ever seen. So for this video, it's important that you do understand the events following the last episode of the Clone Wars when Maul was captured by Palpatine, so I'll link a video for that here. For this battle plan, we're going to be taking on the role of the Republic. Your job is to take back Mandalore, installing a pro-Republic government in place of Maul's, and capture and kill Maul in the process. But first, we need to analyse the world. Now, Mandalore is a barren planet. It's primarily inhospitable deserts due to years of conflict. For this reason, key locations on the world are mostly large domed cities, and these are going to be the main targets. Much of the world is worthless in reality. We can assume that Maul is going to take residence on Sundari, the capital, and he's going to be using that as his stronghold. Maul doesn't have enough troops or resources to hold down the entire planet, so it's very likely he is just going to bunker down in the capital. Now, this city is massive. Not only this, but it's likely holding everything Maul needs to survive. Due to the natural hostility of the world, means that most of their resources are centralized in these cities. These include factories, ships, farms, everything of value is in these cities. Now, Mandalore actually only has a population of around 4 million people. However, again, majority of these will be living in the capital city, making them effectively assets of Maul, either potential troops, workers, or hostages. Your main power here comes from the fact that Maul has very limited manpower. At this time, the Shadow Collective is basically dissolved, with the Pikes, Black Suns, and Hutts all abandoning the cause. Not only this, but many of the Death Watch super commandos have also been killed in his fights with the Separatists. Now, this means time is of the essence. The longer you allow Maul to keep control over the city, the more he can recruit and train more Mandalorians to his cause, build weapons and ships, and work to restore his alliances with his criminal friends. For this reason, combined with his resources, it means that a siege is going to be ineffective. You can't just wait Maul out. Not only because it will take forever because of all of the resources that he has in the city, but also it's going to cause the suffering of millions of innocents. You'd also need to remember that holding ground on the surface of this inhospitable world is going to be very hard on your troops and resources, so you don't want to do that. So laying siege lines is going to be quite ineffective, because Maul's probably just not going to try to break the siege. Going in guns blazing is also not necessarily a good tactic either. For example, attempting to rush the shipyards. With majority of the population and economic infrastructure located in where you're attacking, it means that you have to be careful. Killing civilians needlessly or destroying the planet's economy will turn the Mandalorians against you. So you need to be quite tactical. Firstly, we need to trap Maul in the city. Sending strike forces lock down all facilities surrounding the capital, for example, prison complexes, landing platforms, anything that you can use to have troops stationed on the planet. Simultaneously, set up a blockade. No ships can be allowed to enter or leave the world. You don't need to waste resources entrenching men outside the cities. It's just a waste of resources. Just keep the airways covered and key facilities locked down. There's nothing for Maul outside of the city, so he's not going to leave. He's not going to try to claim more ground because all of that ground is effectively useless. So, first things first, you need to tactically sneak some troops into the city. I'd recommend Jedi, ARC troopers, and Mandalorian clans who have chosen to join the Republic. You can probably sneak a fair few people in without too much issue because Maul's resources are quite spread out. However, you will have to be very careful because Maul's forces will be expecting this. Once you've got people in the city, you can start undermining Maul's regime. Start a resistance movement made up of Mandalorian citizens. You need the people on your side, and militarizing them to resist Maul and his super commandos is the best way to start. The problem with this is that Maul's vengeance will be swift and will lead to the death of innocents. However, it's important this is done by the Mandalorians. Any resistance has to be seen by a Mandalorian movement, not a Republic one. If it's the Republic's troops causing terror, it'll turn many of the citizens against the Republic. Now, whilst you're sowing seeds of rebellion and recruiting more Mandalorian civilians to your cause, you're going to be chipping away at Maul's regime. Very slowly, not enough to make it crumble, just enough to keep it on edge. And you're going to begin tunneling. Now, since these cities are domed, there's not many entrances, and you can't really use air support in majority of them. Not only this, but they're heavily shielded, so actually getting a large enough number of troops into the city is gonna be hard. You can't just try to seize control of a couple of docking bays and land as many ships as you can. Maul has complete control over the city and still quite a lot of firepower, and any ship that docks there is going to be destroyed by the Mandos. For this reason, I believe the best way to achieve this is to actually go under the city. By tunneling under the city, it allows you to go undetected. You also have Mandalorians on your side, meaning some of them should have knowledge of the city's structure and what lies underneath. Now, what I'm about to say is not canon, but it's logical and makes a lot of sense to me. The Mandalorians must already have significant amounts of tunnels under their city. You see, being on a desert world means that they still need water from somewhere, and they're very likely extracting it from the ground, which means that there should be a wealth of maintenance tunnels and catacombs under here. And with the help of Mandalorian guides, you should be able to get troops into them. So essentially, you're going to tunnel your troops from far enough away that you're away from Maul's spies, go under the surface of Mandalore until you reach the catacombs and tunnels that lay under Sundari. Now, this is likely going to take quite a bit of time, especially if you're trying to do it covertly. But it's important to remember that you already have some troops changing opinions and making Mandalorians start to fight back against Maul in the city. As well as this, Maul isn't going anywhere, he can't leave. And it's very important that you do this entire battle very, very specifically so that you don't end up tainting Mandalorian Republic relations for centuries to come. Now, by the time you have troops that have neared entering through the depths of the city, you can have your Mandalorian allies and civilians in the city start a mass protest. Even someone as cold-hearted as Maul can't risk just opening fire to clear the protests. There's simply too many of them. And if he starts just openly killing as many civilians as he can, they will rise up and defeat him. I mean, it will be an absolute bloodbath and it will be a disaster for the Republic, but Maul would definitely not do that. Well, he probably wouldn't do that. Maul has been known to make some pretty big outbursts in the past. So whilst this is happening, most of Maul's troops will be distracted by the protests, and your troops can begin to breach into the city from underneath. Now, what exactly the breakthrough will look like will be difficult to say. You may only have enough time to get infantry through. However, you should definitely attempt to get scout walkers and ATTEs in as well, if it is possible. The scout walkers are quick and able to provide additional firepower against stronger opponents, and the ATTEs can make use of much of the vertical cityscape and take out well-defended strongpoints. Now, whilst your troops are flooding into the city, use your Mandalorian allies coupled with jet troopers to run interference on Maul's troops. Remember, they are very well trained and have a lot of firepower. They need to be kept in check, as a counterattack by them would be perilous. Ensure that the Mandalorian civilians who were protesting know that when the Republic breaks through, they must return to their homes to avoid being massacred. As soon as Maul starts to realise that he's losing, he probably will start ordering the deaths of the innocent. However, from this point, your victory is more or less assured. Have the landing platform secured and bring further troops in once Maul's soldiers have been engaged, and will no longer be able to launch a counterattack. Meanwhile, Maul is done for. You outnumber him, you have more firepower, and his men can't even tactically retreat at this point. He can't flee. You own all space surrounding the city. With regular patrols, he would be shot down immediately. He will be forced to stand his ground, likely at the palace, where you will send Jedi and ARC troopers to deal with him. Or he will be forced into the fray himself, leading his men, which again he will lose as he is outnumbered by a ridiculous amount. But well done, you've done it. You've effectively taken Mandalore from Maul and you can install your own government at this point. But what do you guys think of my proposed battle plan on how to invade Mandalore? Is there an easier way, a better way, and how do you think the Republic will manage? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, please remember to like, share and sub if you did enjoy, as it's really appreciated and it helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at @TheLoreGuy and tick the bell for regular updates. Thanks again for watching, I do hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.